All right, here we go. We started.
Okay, I have to push. Okay, hold on. Okay.
Okay. Thank you everybody who's watching this. I have Linette Miller here on Zoom or whatever you're watching from, wherever this recording is going. And today we're going to talk about Linette's healing journey and what she's gone through and how she has been guided. We've worked together as a team to really help her heal her symptoms. So, Linette, can you explain to the people listening what exactly have you gone through and explain to people how you feel, like the hard times you went through, what you felt, your emotions, like your beliefs. Did you have a hard time believing that you could feel better? First of all, let's talk about what was going on with you, and then
Yeah.
we'll go into
Okay.
emotions.
Okay. Do you want me to talk about it or do you want to explain?
Why don't you talk about what you were going through so they can hear it from your voice? I don't want
Okay.
to put words in your mouth.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Hello. Um, this is Julie, my amazing healer. I can't say enough about her and the way she's helped me. And I believe because of Julie and the Lord, I'm here today. And I'm grateful, so thank you. Let's see, it all kind of started or drum rolled in um, around last March, maybe a little bit before. I think we started working together. We've been working together like what, 16, 17 months now, almost, I
About that,
think.
yeah.
And unfortunately, my father was killed, and I was living with them because I had been going through stage 4 cancer. And they had given me my stepmom and my dad. I was living with them to try to be able to heal or get better. I was on chemo for, it was 2 years. And I was sleeping in like 18 hours a day. I was very weak. I was frail. I had no energy. I was just lethargic. I just was. And then when I lost my father, and then 13 days later, I lost my stepmom, and I was all alone in this big house by myself, sick, and thinking, what the heck am I going to do? So, of course, I was grieving. I was angry. I was sad. I was mad. I was frustrated. I was just in my head 24/7. And then once you and I started to work together, and it didn't take that long, which I was really surprised, from the point of where I was at till the point we started working together, that I started to feel better, and I started to manage like myself, and I was able to then get up at 5:30 or 6 in the morning and start packing this huge house of 3,000 square feet. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to do it. What am I going to do? I'm just going to end up here. So through Julie, I've been able to like completely turn my life around. And it's been a year since my father's passing, a year and a couple months. And I would have never, ever guessed that I would be here today as I sit, as healthy as I am, and as wonderful as I feel. So I'm grateful, so grateful to you, Julie. And you know this. And to anybody watching, you have to open up your mind. You have to stop believing everything you've been told, that doctors have the answers, that chemo's the answer, that this radiation, all these stuff. And yeah, you can listen to it, but you also have to understand how much control and power we have over our own bodies. And that's what Julie has taught me. And through doing our sessions, I have learned that, and I've been able to basically control my body and to heal myself. And my tests have proved it. I was supposed to be on chemo for life, and they said I would never be able to get off. I did heal from stage 4 with Julie, and it's gone. I'm 5 years clear, so that was a great thing. And the third or fourth year, I had my platelets were high, so they did a bunch of blood tests and mutation testing, because they didn't understand why my platelets weren't going down after my cancer was removed. I had thyroid cancer that had spread to my trachea. Excuse my voice. Anyway, so they did mutation testing. They found out I tested positive for the fifth gene, which is an MPL gene. It's like you test for BRCA, all those different genes you guys hear about. So I had this one called MPL. Well, what MPL is a group of MPNs, which is myeloproliferative neoplasmas, which is basically a blood cancer that's in my bone marrow. And that has no cure. And you don't know when it's going to come on. And I believe the stress and everything else I was under brought on the symptoms of that cancer, because I had never, although I was born with that, I had never had any kind of symptoms of it. And so working through Julie, I have maintained, controlled. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It's probably best you ask me questions at this point, because I could just talk for forever.
Okay.
But
Well,
to help control,
I'd like to share, like, what kind of emotions were you going through every day?
oh gosh, I had
Uh,
anxiety. I was sad. I was angry. I was depleted. I was crying. I wasn't happy. I mean, I was sad. I felt like my world crumbled. My dad was my best friend. I mean, we were so close, and I thank God I got to spend, if you know, the last 5 years basically with him. And I believe God put me there for a reason, and it was so that I could just enjoy my dad the last 5 years of his life. But I felt everything: anxiety, stress, stomach aches, sick, headaches, anything you could think of, pain in my joints, pain in my body. One day my knee would go, the other day the other knee would go, then my shoulder would go out, then my foot would go out, and then my feet would swell. And just, it was just like a culmination of like every body part, and it would just move to another body part and then move to another body part. So I started to work with you.
Thank you. Just to let you know, I do not make any claims that I am a healer. I help guide people, and we all have the tools within ourselves. And I share that the lack of love that we have for ourselves is what creates a lot of our illness. And that's what I share and I teach, and I help open up the heart so you have the tools to heal yourself. Um, so Lynette, what kind of exercises do you remember all the exercises and what works for you? What really worked? Can you explain what you needed to do and what I guided you with that really helped that you feel that worked for you?
A lot of it was, of course, you knew everything. I had told you everything. It is, you know, we've also been friends for quite a while. And so you knew everything I was going through, and you were able to tap into what emotions and what was causing me and the root cause of things. And once we got into what my root cause was, I really have to say it was breathing exercises and breathing technique. And that's really, and in my mindset of, when you claim sickness, you're sick. So if you say I'm sick, you'll be sick. And when you say I'm healthy, it's amazing, you'll start to become healthy. And I would have never believed that in a million years until I experienced it for myself. So if there was a skeptic or whatever, it would have been me. And you know that in the beginning, you know, I love you, but I just thought, okay, you know, Julie's always getting in something new, but this has been going on 8 or 9 years now, and you're amazing at what you do, and I'm so proud of you, and I thank God for you, because if it wasn't for you, I don't think I'd be here today. And I truly mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'm not trying to, you know, you know, boost your ego or anything like that. I'm just straight facts. So it basically was the breathing techniques that we worked on that allowed me to get all this stuff and all these emotions that I had trapped inside of you, or inside of me. I was able to get them out each session we did. You know, I remember the one day we did a session, this was like what, 6 8 months ago, when I had pain in both my knees, remember, and in my shoulder. And we worked what, 45 minutes, and then you told me to stand up, whatever, and the pain was gone. And I was like, okay, this is really weird.
Well, what we did is
Really,
we did
yeah.
the breathing technique, and then I had you, because I had you get into your heart center. And once
Mhm.
you were in your heart center, I had you ask your body a question.
Right, right.
And this is what I teach. Once we do the breathing technique, then I have you get in your heart center, which means you're out of your mind, you're out of
Right.
your head, you're not thinking,
Right.
and it's the thinking that gets us in trouble. But
Right.
then I taught you how to ask your body questions.
Yes. And I do
And
that every day.
were you able to ask, what was the question you gave or you asked, and what was the answer when your knees were
Um,
better?
well, when it was my knees, I asked what is it that I need to let go of, enable for my knees to feel better and to not have pain. And I came up with, at the time, I don't know which emotion because we've dealt with so many of mine, but
It
I
was
believe
worrying.
was was what?
It was
I was
worrying.
afraid. Oh, worry. Okay, I was going to
Yeah,
say or
worrying
afraid.
was keeping your knees from walking
Yeah,
without the cane.
right, right, or the walker thing. Um, and so once I released that, it was like just my whole life changed because I could not believe how I could feel pain, and then 5 minutes later, without pain medicine, without anything, I felt complete like you saw me. I stood up and I could move. I mean, it was like I was limping, and they told me I need a knee replacement on my right knee. I also have a torn ligament on my left knee, and as you see, I have no braces on. And I thank God they postponed my surgery for my knee replacement, or I would have a new knee now. And I didn't want, and Julie, I didn't know, and Julie even said, "Well, you don't need to have a knee replacement. We can heal that. You know, you can do this." I'm like, wait, my knee replacement? I can build a new knee, whatever. You know, I was like, but we did, you know, and through breathing and through Julie's exercises and teaching me how to ask my body, ask myself what I need to do to fix it, I've healed myself. And I'm proud to say I beat stage 4 cancer, and Julie was involved. Um, and the Lord, and that's all I can say because uh, I recently, after told I was going to be on chemo the rest of my life, I didn't sit well with me. As you know, for the past 2 years, I was irritated. You know, 9 times a week I was doing chemo, and
And
it's
you were
like,
sick. You were feeling
yeah,
horrible.
and I
You
felt
weren't
terrible.
able to, you had to take it every day, right?
Yeah,
So
every day,
every
9 times
day,
a week, every day, and then twice Mondays and twice Thursdays. So it ended up being 9 times in 7 days. And yeah, I knew I didn't, that part of me didn't feel good. And I was like, this is not helping me. This is making me more sick. So what I did is I'm with UCLA and I love UCLA. I feel that they're probably the best of anyone, at least that I've ever been to. And so I refused to go anywhere else. And I had an oncologist that was just a general oncologist, the cancer doctor. And I told him, I said, you know, I don't think you understand my cancer. And I said, I think I need to switch oncologists. And it took me a lot to be able to say that because you know me, I don't like to say things like that. And but I just told him the truth. I said, I don't feel like you really care about my cancer because it's just like, oh, just stay on the chemo and you know, I wasn't okay with that. So anyway, I got a new doctor 2 months ago, and I went into her, and she was a blood oncologist, a hematologist oncologist, which deals with blood cancer, like only. And that's what I have. Um, so I told her, she said, if you could have one thing different or whatever, what do you want to see? And I said, I do not want to take chemo any longer. And I said, she said, well, and after looking, you know, looking at all my results and everything, and this is, of course, after we've worked together for a long time, she said, I don't see any reason that you need to be on this chemo and this strength and everything. And it's not going to buy you more time. It's all this other stuff that this doctor told me. So I got off chemo 2 months ago. And a way that they monitored, aside from tumor markers, the way that they monitored my health was by my platelets. So platelets range usually up to 300 something. My platelets were like at 1200 at one time, and then they came down to 9, 8, but they would vary in between like 600 to 1200, and usually around 800. So anyhow, as soon as Julie and I were working together one day, and she got me into a very deep, long breathing session that I desperately needed, and I kept trying to avoid because, you know,
when you work on healing, your body protects you and tries to prevent it. You
right,
have to do that.
yeah,
And
I
that's
have. I have
why
to tell my body,
you
no,
need
I'm the
guidance.
boss.
And you
Yeah.
have to take control of it, or you need guidance to help push you.
And that's
And
what you do. And thank God for it, because the one session, I think you remember, I told you, and I would tell you things as I would go, like, I feel this, I feel that. And then, but do you remember the time where I actually was getting sick and purging when we were breathing? And I was like, oh, wait, I'm choking. You're like, keep going. That's getting it out. It's getting it out. So I did. And um, it was kind of traumatic on my side, only because I was like trying to breathe while I'm like throwing up on the side, whatever. But as soon as I got it out, whatever it was, I told Julie, I said, oh my God, I just felt my cancer leave my body. Do you remember that?
yes, I
And,
do.
and I started to cry. And I said, Julie, oh my God, I feel like the cancer's gone. And I don't know what I meant by that. I don't even know why like what pushed me to say that, except for the Lord and Julie. Like didn't work with anything else at the time. And so that's when I said, I'm done with chemo. And that's when I went in, but it was our session. And I have not gone back to those feelings. I have not had those emotions. I have not had the anxiety. Um, I have not had the sadness. Um, I have had some pain, and that's because I know I'm swallowing something, meaning I'm not dealing with something. Whenever I have pain, I have to figure out what it is and ask my body, what is it I need to let go of to feel better again? And your body will tell you. My body told me, and um, it's almost like God. If you speak to God and you don't hear God's voice, it comes in your own voice. But a lot of times it'll come as you need to. When it's a you need to, it's coming either from God or from whatever you happen to believe in, source. And when it says I need or whatever, then it's yourself saying it. So when you hear a you need to blah blah blah, you know that it's outside of you. And so I would wait for the you need to, or you need to do this, or blah 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 blah. And so ever since then, it's just been amazing. And I still have the blood cancer gene. But after my test, I was at, when Julie and I were working that day, my platelets were at, I believe, 700. And I've told her, I said, I'm going to go do my blood work, remember? So I went in, 2-3 days later, and my platelets had dropped. It was at 800. My platelets had dropped from 800 to 400. Do you remember? And
Yes,
I
I
was like,
do.
oh my God. And I called you from UCLA. I'm like, oh my God, you're never gonna believe this. So they dropped in half, which for me is a good thing, because again, aside from tumor markers, the platelets are what indicates my blood thing, and it's clotting. And so what my blood cancer does is it can make blood clots. So I have to be very careful and to keep my blood thin, and so that doesn't happen. So once I heard that, it's just like I felt that I didn't have cancer any longer. I mean, I believe in it, and I felt like I didn't. And then I went again in a month just to make sure. And then my platelets had gone down into the threes, which are normal. So there's no abnormal at the top of my blood list or my report that used to be always abnormal, abnormal, abnormal. So it was like the first time, and I told Jules, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the normal range. Like that means like I'm not even sick right now. You know what I mean? I'm not anything. So I believe, and if anybody's listening and they have cancer, well, I don't care what you have fibromyalgia, you have anxiety disorder, you have panic, you have this, that, the other. I experienced all of those things. I had really severe panic disorder in my 20s, very severe. And a lot of it is what we tell ourselves, and getting out of the what ifs. What if this happens? What if this happens? And instead of saying the what ifs, you need to start saying, I'm going to, or this will, I will, not what if. Who cares what if? This will. You have to own it.
Well,
You
the
have
what
to.
if, you want to say, what if it works? What if we get
True,
better?
true,
So what if
true.
is good, but in a
Right.
positive more.
But usually,
But
what if is like is a proposed to a negative. You know what I mean? So yeah, of course. But you don't even want to say what if. You want to own it, and you've taught me that. Own it. Own your health. Own your healthiness. Own everything. And I've learned to own my own. I've also learned to speak out and I have several friends that that have a few issues, and I was always there for them, and I would put them before myself. And Julie helped me to realize that that wasn't healthy for me, because I was focusing on others in my life that needed help instead of myself. So I put them first, and then I get the leftovers. Well, by then I'd be exhausted. So once now I've learned to prioritize, and I've gotten rid of some, not rid of, but I excommunicated myself from certain people.
That
And
was creating your fatigue. And your
yeah,
fatigue
oh yeah,
was, helping others before you, but it would take
right,
you out
right.
because
Oh, it would
you're
take me, and I would sleep for, a day and a half, like, and just, it would take me out, is basically what it did. And so I don't have that anymore. I get up every day at what, 7:30, and I don't work right now. I can't work, or not that I can't, but I'm at the moment sort of disabled, I guess you call it, but I don't plan to be. And they wanted me on permanent disability, but I don't want to be on permanent disability. I want to go back
and
to
you
work.
don't have to be. It's
Right. Amen. Amen.
so
And,
that will be the next step to get you back out there working. Maybe
yes,
with me,
yes,
my
yes, yes.
marketing person. That's what we
Yeah,
always
there
talk
you
about,
go.
right? For you.
Yeah. Yeah, marketing. Yes. I will do anything for you. You have changed my life for the better. I can't even begin to say, and people listening, you just open your mind. Okay, it's nothing. There's no voodoo, there's no Wiccan, there's no psychic, there's no this, that. It's purely, I'm a Christian, I believe in God. Okay, the only person I really fear in this life is the Lord, and my healer Julie, that works with God, through God, basically. So you don't have to be afraid that she's, this, that, or the other, or whatever people say. Oh, you're just a this, you're just a psychic. She's not a psychic. She does based on physiology and science and true things, chakras in our body that we have, that people work on. When we go get massage, we go to a chiropractor, we go to holistic doctors, and even some, I'm finding some of my doctors, when I tell them, they ask me how I healed, and I said, well, I do breathing techniques with my girlfriend. I said, my healer. And I know you don't like to be called a healer, but to me, you're my healer. I'm sorry. Um, and
I like to
and
be
one
called a
doctor,
coach or
yeah,
a guided,
you're
kind of a
guiding.
guided healer. I teach you how to heal yourself,
Yeah, you teach us
but
how
I'm
to
a
do it.
coach.
Right, right. But you're also my healer. Um, anyway, so anybody listening, like I said, I don't care what ailment you have. Um, if you want to get better, you will try something different. And this is something that's not voodoo. It's nothing like that. It's all within ourselves. So nobody's injecting us with drugs or chemo or radiation. No one's giving you psychedelics or depression medicine or anything. It's all here. And once you learn that you can control the emotions, the anxiety, like I thought I'd never control anxiety. I thought I was just going to have anxiety forever.
Let
And
me let me ask you, do you have
yeah,
anxiety today? Like how
no,
long has it been since you've had anxiety?
oh,
And I mean, be honest, I
like
don't
right
know if you
away. Yeah, no,
I
it's
don't
since we've
I
been
don't
working
hear you
together.
talk about anxiety. So I don't know. I only hear that you're fatigued.
Yeah,
So I mean, are you taking medication for anxiety?
no,
Were you taking medication for anxiety?
I did for years, yes.
And but
And I also had severe depression, so I always took my antidepressant, and I took my anxiety medicine. But my anxiety has completely gone. Now, I'm not going to say there's not a time, if I go on stage or I'm on a whatever, that I don't feel nervous. I mean, that's normal. But that also motivates me, like, in a happy way. Instead of looking at it negative, I look at it as, oh, good, it's giving me energy to be able to do this. You know what I mean? So I've sort of classified anxiety, and what anxiety is. It's not like, oh, doom and gloom. It's okay. It's your body revving up and your cortisol's going so that you can present and show what you want to show. So I look at it sort of as an energy when I do get it, but I don't have it. Like, I'm not worried about it. Like I used to worry 24/7. Oh gosh, da, da, da. And then you start to say, oh, I had anxiety there, so no, I can't go back to that store. Or I had a panic attack there, so I can't go there. I can't go here. And it's all it's all in our heads. I mean, we label this. We put these things that will become a phobia if you do it long
Sweetie,
enough.
I'm sorry. Do you have the TV on?
No, sorry.
Okay, because I'm getting like the recordings. I'm hearing
I'm
like
sorry.
different
Yeah, I would
voices.
not. I just turned it off. I thought it was low. So yeah, I just don't know how. I don't know. I could say so much, and I just could go on
Thank you,
forever about
Lynette.
you. Yeah.
So we're this is like my first. This is gonna be my first video actually
mm,
having, somebody on here to talk about how they feel and how I've helped them.
mm.
Where do you see yourself? Like, how are you feeling on a daily basis now, today?
Amazing, amazing.
Are you happy?
I'm very happy.
And then
I'm
what do you focus on every day? Do you have a ritual that you wake up and you do something that
oh
keeps
yes,
you in line every day?
yes. Every morning when I wake up, I set my intentions for the day, and I clear any negative energy, and I block, and I ask the Lord to protect me from people's dramas, whatever, and I can listen to them, but I let go of them. I don't internalize them as I used to do, and I protect myself. And uh, when you work with Julie, you'll understand what protecting yourself means. And before I get in my car, I mean, everything. It's just become a habit now. I do it like naturally, like I pray. I do the same thing. I set my intentions. I protect myself, and that's very important to be able to protect yourself and not allow others' negative energy to come into us, and then us. Because when you walk in a room and everybody's negative, you start to kind of become like the others, and if you're the shining light, you're like out of place, so it's like I'd want to stay the shining light now. I don't want to succumb to them, so I protect myself so I can still be that shining light and leave and feel for them, but also understand that I don't have to feel that way anymore. um so there's so many things that you have taught me. I mean, uh but happiness is a way of life now, and I get up and I'm positive. And even if I get some news that is questionable or whatever, I don't dwell on it. And um,
You've
I
got
just
the
have
tools now. You know
to
that
live
there's
with
two
it. Yeah.
ways of looking at it,
Mhm.
and whichever direction you
Absolutely.
go will take you
Mhm.
down that path, whether
Right.
it's positive or
Or
negative.
negative. That's true. And like I said, even with my health, sometimes I'll get a weird test back or something, and instead of freaking out, I'll call you, and you'll ask what, and it goes away. And we had a recent experience with that, and so I was right back on track. And I got up this morning, protected myself, set my intentions, and here we are. So
Well, let
it's
me ask you a question, and this
yes.
may or may not stay on this recording.
Okay.
If I wasn't here today when you had something come up, say I'm on vacation or something, what would you do when you have some kind of news? What would the first steps be to get through that news? You have some bad news, something happened.
Right. Right.
I don't want to say anything, but
Yeah, no,
just
that's
bad news, something
right.
happened.
Right.
What are the first steps you take to get through that bad news? Your thoughts are going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I guess I'll use it an example. And I don't like to put anything out there. I got nothing.
I know what you
Because
mean though, so that's a good thing, right?
yeah, because I don't like to say anything
Mhm.
because the universe is always listening. So
Yes,
you have to watch your
listen, it's
stories.
very important what you say and what you say out loud. And
So
like I
let's
said,
just say your knee,
yeah,
you wake up with a body pain. Okay. You wake
okay.
up with a body pain.
Mhm.
How do you work through that? You wake
Well,
up and
I
something's
wake up,
hurting.
I say my prayers, and then I set my intentions. So when I set my intentions for the day, if after I set those intentions of what I want my day to go like, and what I expect and what I'm going to do, if my knee still hurts, then I ask my body what it is that I need to let go of, or what do I need to do, and be able to get rid of my knee pain. And then it tells me. it, I mean, I can't, in the beginning, I used to laugh when you know, in the very beginning, when you would say this stuff, and I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to appease her. I'm going to try to do this stuff. And then when I started doing it, it started working. I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy, but it does. And it did. And I'm here living proof. When I was diagnosed with stage 4, it was 2018. So it's been now 6 years, right? 24. And the other cancer, like I said, blood cancer, I have it. It's a gene. I'll have it forever. But there's ways to maintain it. There are medications if I have to that I can go to, but I'm not on chemo. So if I would have just stayed with that doctor, I would have been on chemo with the rest of my life. And chemo's not good. I mean, it supposedly will kill the cancer cells, but it also kills good stuff. It can't decipher. There are medications, there are interferons and other things that our body produces naturally, and they will just encourage the healing. So if you're low and your body's fighting so many things, lupus, fibro, this, cancer, that, whatever, it gives you more, like more strength and more power, like the interferons. The interferons isn't bad. It's a natural thing, and it focuses and it doesn't destroy, from what I've been told and explained to by the doctors and what I've read briefly, it doesn't destroy the rest of our things in our body, which make us sick. You know, so while chemo might be getting rid of cancer, you know, there's a report out that says 3% of patients that take chemo benefit from it. 3%. I mean, that to me is like, why take chemo? I mean, just chemo, I don't understand it. And
Right.
I understand when people come in and they find out at a later stage. I found out at stage 4. I had immediate surgery. They removed my thyroid and took out part of my trachea. But they did radiation for that, and I didn't do chemo for that. So and then I was like, okay, that's good. Like I did one radiation thing series, and I was like, okay, that's good. So that's all I did. And Julie, and you came in like the 3rd year of it, and ever since then, you know, like knock on wood, if I can say that, I'm stage 4 cancer free anyway of my thyroid. So
If you've gone through the pattern, do you know what your patterns are of what's been going on with your life?
um quite a few I've learned through you um and the
Because you've had
pattern.
different cancers. Have you? So
Yes.
that's number one question. Let me have you answer that question. And because I've helped you understand why you were getting cancer.
Right. Right.
And do you understand what those patterns are and have you maintained them?
Yes. Yes, I know
You
what
want to
to look
share what
for.
the patterns were?
um my patterns were when it was based on emotions, and my patterns, like it was when I felt a certain way, or I was down, or if I got sad or something, I knew there was a reason, and it was me. It wasn't really necessarily the situation, but it was more myself and the way I was going to handle it. So you've taught me how to, again, ask myself what it is that's bothering me, and then, you know, take it down piece by piece, and your body will tell you. And so in situations, if I hear bad news, you know, I'll envelop the bad news, whatever it is, I'll listen to it, but I'll stop it. I'll like say, okay, I got this news, but I'm not going to let it take me over. I'm not going to let it take me out, but I'm going to, you know, clear my blocks, clear the negativity, and allow myself to deal with something, but not get like submerged into that feeling of whatever it is that happened, or dwell, or you just learn to rise above it. And it sounds in a little bit maybe selfish, but you have to do that. It's self-survival in this world. You know, nobody can save you except yourself, really. And I believe this. I mean, as far as day-to-day living, you are what you are. You are what you think. And you can become what you want. And that's the best part, is that you don't have to be stuck and every day wake up going the same. It's the routine thoughts. It's like over and over. We need to change those thoughts. And yeah, it's not instantaneous that it happens, but once you are aware of it and you start practicing and you get rid of those thoughts and you replace them with new, healthy, and positive thoughts, you start to believe it. You really do. So it's not like rocket science. It's actually very common sense, but people don't look. They go to the doctor. They say, "Oh no, I need a shot. I need a pill. I got this. I got that." And I like Julie. I'm much more holistic, and believe there's a way. I mean, I was an athlete my whole life. Very active. I have twins that are 34, and a couple stepkids, and I got the cancer. I was like, it took me out. I was playing hockey at 55. So it's like, you know, but I knew in my heart, working with you, that I would be able to get back to a much more normal routine, which I have. And instead of staying at home and just like isolating myself from everybody because I had no good news to tell anyone. And I just like, it's not that I felt sorry for myself, but I just didn't want to. People say, why don't you call? Why don't you this? It's not, I'm not calling because I don't have like anything positive to say about myself, because I hadn't worked with you on this yet. And now it doesn't matter who calls, I can pick up the phone and they can
Yeah, I
ask me
do
about it.
remember you would never call me back years ago.
Sorry, but that
It's
you know
okay.
why.
I get it. I get
Yeah,
it because I
yeah,
went through that too, where I isolated myself,
yeah, me
which we'll
too.
be sharing my story soon.
Yeah.
Lynette, I'm gonna end this video
Okay.
right now. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for
And
having me.
you hold still.
And
I'm gonna talk to you in just a second.
okay, okay. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Are you sure you want to